Hello, and welcome to another edition of True Audiophiles Vinyl Haul. This time I'm going to go over some finds that I got at a local record show, and I think I made out pretty well. I kind of checked over everything through Discogs, and I think I got some great deals. So let's go over them, and love to see what you guys think. So first up is Boston's first album, which probably one of the best albums of all time, at least one of the best debuts of all times in my personal opinion. What's really cool is this is a white label promo. I have one of these already, but wasn't a big fan of the surface noise. I'm always out trying to find the early, like, first pressings or ones that say Wally on the dead wax, because those are considered to be the best sounding version of this album. So now if I can just find a version of it that isn't so noisy, I'd be all set. So hopefully this is the one. Next is Salt and Pepper. And this one is Black's Magic and has Let's Talk About Sex on it. Pretty cool album. Really like late 80s, early 90s rap and hip hop a lot. And this is a pretty classic album. So next one is one I've never seen before. This is James Brown Hell, and pretty interesting album. It's a double album, and it was put out in 1974, and pretty excited to check out what this is going to be like. Wasn't in the perfect condition, but hopefully it'll be good enough to where it won't be all crackly and pop. This one I had to get. Can't say that it's something that is... it's more of a kind of a fun thing to have more than anything. If any of you guys are a fan of the movie Little Shop of Horrors, not just the musical, but got Steve Martin's song Dentist on a 12-inch promo, which I think is just really cool. There's an edited and standard version on this, so it's advertised that it's digitally recorded, mixed, and mastered, but you know, hey, I think I'm buying this more for the novelty than anything else, so I think it's kind of fun. Next up is Living Color, Time's Up. Really, really loved Vivid, and I thought this was a pretty good album as well. Not quite as good as Livid, but still great. And this is a first pressing. It's actually a yellow vinyl, which is cool, and it has the inner sleeve also, but just to kind of show you, I think it's kind of cool. Transparent yellow. Always fun. I'm mishandling this record, but that's alright. That's what record cleaners are for, right? So, and luckily I have one that does a pretty good job. And, you know, Cult of Personality, when it came out, was just so unbelievably awesome. It kind of took the world by storm. Definitely one of my favorite songs. There's a lot of great songs on that album. This one, I do really like Time's Up, and there's a couple of others here that I really like as well. So, but a good album nonetheless. So, next one is one I can't say I've really seen out very much, which I'm kind of surprised about because of how popular it was, but it's a 12-inch of Billie Jean, which is basically the extended remix of the song, and I think there's the instrumental as well, and a song called It's the Falling in Love, which I'm not familiar with that one, but anyways, so kind of excited about this. Don't have a copy of the extended remix, so speaking of 12-inch singles, here's another one that I think I have on CD, but I don't have on vinyl. And it is, it's 9 Inch Nails and Sin. Several different versions of it on this, and a pretty good quality copy of this, which is kind of cool, and so pretty excited about this pickup. Next up is one that, if you've watched any of my previous vinyl haul editions, I picked up at, I think it was Bananas. Or maybe it may have been actually at the record show, the last record show I went to, but it's Thin Lizzy, Renegade. Unfortunately, that copy was severely warped, which I didn't notice before. This one appears to be in almost perfect condition. Didn't appear to have any kind of warp issue at all in it, so pretty excited about finally getting a good clean copy of this that isn't warped. Next is probably from well, I should say is from probably one of my favorite blues artists, and that's Howlin Wolf. This is a collection of songs called Legendary Sun Performers. It's from the UK, and I generally don't like compilation albums, but especially on blues stuff, because there's so many different variations of them. But I figured I'd give this one a try. It is a UK, which tends to have a good sound quality to them, so I figured I'd give it a try. This next one is definitely a great find for me, a relatively rare version of this album. I already have, I think, a digital copy, and I might even have a normal copy of this also, but this is John Coltrane live at the Village Vanguard again. But what makes this special, as you could probably see, is it's a white label promo, which I did my research while I was at the record show, and one hasn't sold on Discogs for about 2.5 years, and there's only been about 4 or 5 that have sold on eBay. So it's a pretty tough find, and it is in almost perfect condition, so pretty excited about this one. Next up, for those of you who are Iron Maiden fans, especially going back to the first 2 albums, this is Paul Di'Anno's Battle Zone. So for those of you who don't know, Paul Di'Anno was the original, well, I don't know if original, but was the lead singer of Iron Maiden on their first 2 records anyway. And so he went off and did a couple of other albums on his own. This is one of them that I don't have already. And pretty cool. Can't wait to check this out. I really actually like his style and his voice. Kind of added kind of a punk edge to their sound, which I think that might be why he's no longer an Iron Maiden lead singer, because Steve Harris is not a big fan of punk. So just ask him, he'll tell you. Next up is another what I think is a compilation. I've never actually ever seen it before, and it's Miles Davis, Tallest Trees. Like I said, haven't seen this before. It's got some great guest stars on it, though. But it's it's got Charles Mingus, Thelonious Monk. I think it's got John Coltrane, yeah. So Sonny Rollins. It looks like it's probably from maybe the Prestige era, because it's on Prestige. Like I said, never seen this one before. It was relatively inexpensive, and it was in halfway decent shape. So I figured I'd give it a try and see what it was like. Kind of going back to that blues theme that I was talking about before. This one, never seen it out before. Did a little bit of research before I purchased it, and it's got probably 3 of my favorite blues artists on it. And this is Folk Festival of the Blues, recorded live. And this is from what I can tell, either an first pressing or at least an early pressing of this album, and was in pretty good shape. And very surprised to see this. You just don't see it out very often. So, and I was able to talk the guy down a little bit in price, because he was wanting an arm and a leg for it, and I just gave him an arm for it. So another one that I paid almost an arm for and almost an arm and a leg for is the Misfits, Walk Amongst Us. Walk Among Us. This one is a 1988 Ruby reissue. Still has the shrink wrap on it. Is in really good condition, and kind of going back to one. If you haven't watched my last vinyl haul, I'm really looking to try to get as many of the original or early Misfits pressings as I can, because I have most of the reissues from the 2000s and 2010s. So. Okay, another one that was kind of an affordable one that I was assuming is just a collection, especially since it says this recording is being released for the first time, but I think it's still a collection of stuff that has been released before. But it's Jazz at the Plaza, the Miles Davis Sextet, which basically has Cannonball Adderley, Paul Chambers, John Coltrane, Philly Joe Jones, and Bill Evans. This is a promo copy, as you can tell by the bottom label here. And again, another inexpensive collection of jazz. So, and when you get Miles Davis, and you can find Miles Davis and John Coltrane on the same album for less than 15 bucks, it's something you should probably go for. All right, another one that was kind of an expensive purchased but pretty excited about is this one is Nuclear Assault Survive. And this one, if you don't know who Nuclear Assault is, it's actually got a guy, I don't remember which one it was. Oh, it's John Connolly, I believe it was. No, Danny Lilker was the original bass player for Anthrax before. I think he's on their first, maybe one of their first albums. I don't remember. He was definitely in early stuff of theirs, but he was kicked out and replaced with Frank Bello, and then he went on to form Nuclear Assault. So this is one of their earlier albums, Survive, in really good shape. It's a early pressing on IRS metal, which I have, you don't see IRS doing metal stuff too much, so kind of cool find there. And another 80s classic heavy metal album is from a band called Helloween. If you don't know about Helloween, if you like Iron Maiden, I think you'll like them quite a bit. Very similar kind of style back in the day. Actually, this album came out, the ones that came out before this, they were very much different in terms of they had a little bit more of a different edge to them, and the voice was definitely more not quite as soaring as like Bruce Dickinson's vocals are, and like the lead singer of this on this record is, but was still very good. This one's still in the shrink wrap, as you can see, and it also has the Give the Gift of Music sticker on it, which I think is kind of fun. But in great shape, and it was a great album. So that is what I got. I did get one other one that I toyed with bringing out. I was very, very cautious about it, and I'm still going to do a little bit of research, but I'll show it anyway. It's a beat-up copy of Led Zeppelin 2. They claim that it's the rare RL version, but I was doing research when I was there, and I'm not really sure it is, because I have one already, and it doesn't look like it's the same cutting. Now, maybe some of you know this out there. Maybe Bob Ludwig did a couple of different cuttings of this album, but I didn't think he did. But this one is clearly not the same cutting of the one I already owned, and then the research that I did and looked at, the printing on the labels isn't quite exactly the same either. So I'm a little bit cautious about this one. So I figured I'd put it up just in case, and maybe some of you guys out there know if there are some bootlegs out there that make it look like it's the Bob Ludwig cut version of it. But I would love to get your take. So that's basically everything I got. I got some great stuff. I'm very excited to listen to these things. I would love to hear your take on these things that I purchased today. And if you liked what you saw, please hit the like button. If you would subscribe to the channel, I would love that also. And if you hit the alert button, it'll let you know when I make new videos. So thank you very much, and you guys have a great day.